Hello, hi. Is it 8 o'clock, Bernie? Is it at
Hello.
8? Hi,
Huh?
is it at 8 o'clock?
It is 8 o'clock tonight, yes.
Where is everybody? I ran from an engagement party to be here. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm out of town, but I'm listening to the shir.
Oh, wow. That's dedication.
Listen, I'm enjoying what I'm learning here. So
I know. Isn't it? First of all, it's so and he's so cool. He's so wonderful. He really and your contributions are great. Do you know
yeah,
what we're up? What?
yeah, you're very involved too, Barbara. I like that. It's
Okay, I
good.
could. I actually have a Navi shear on Monday with somebody else, and there's so much participation. There's so much, it's really great.
What
Also
are you
some,
learning?
I'm sorry.
What are you learning
Oh, we're on
in that year?
The Lachem Aleph.
Oh, so you already know it. You
I
have
know, well,
familiarity.
but we go into, we have the Zucker Navi, and we do all the Midrashim, all of them. Oh, so I don't know where.
Hello.
I think we're up to in Perik Vav, Pasuk
Vav? What
Chaf Daled.
Chaf
24.
Yeah, 624.
In which
I'm
in which one? In which Navi?
Malachim Beis.
No. But you say 624. But which it could be any.
Perik Vav.
Chapter 6. Chapter 6.
Yes, I know. But 620. Not the page. That was the Vav and Chaf Daled.
Havdalis. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Very good. But where is everybody?
I'm here.
Right. I mean,
Are you on the
East?
Bernie, are you on the East Coast?
I'm in Colorado. I'm joined my children and grandchildren for a hiking excursion for a couple of days.
Oh, fabulous. Fabulous. So nice. How's the weather?
It was the upper 80s today.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful weather. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's so nice. How many grandchildren?
2 families are here, 6 grandchildren and 4 children.
Did you have to bring your food?
No, there's in Denver. There's this big kosher deli, East Side. It's called East Side Kosher Deli. You can buy it like in LA, and you can buy ready-made food, or you can buy raw food and cook it.
Oh,
so it's available.
Very nice. Enjoy. So nice.
You.
Okay. How was Tammy doing? Yeah. I just came from an engagement party. The father of the Kala name is Michael Schwartz. Have you heard of him? He's a very successful litigator.
No.
Defends police. Very.
I know his name because he's on one of my WhatsApp groups, but I don't know.
Well, you look him up. It's quite impressive. It's a real Kiddush Hashem versus Yarmulke. Very, very impressive.
Where does he live?
He lives on Detroit. His daughter just got engaged to Dobie Friedman's son.
Oh,
my daughter was actually the shotgun.
That's so nice.
That's nice.
It's really nice.
But look up this guy. He's incredibly impressive.
Actually, now that you're saying that, he's on my WhatsApp group. So I've read about him. Yes, he's very he is very impressive.
I think he was a partner in a firm. I think he left to go out on his own, and he's really super incredible.
What's
anyhow.
his name? Who are we talking about?
Michael Schwartz. You could Google
Okay.
him.
Now we're working papers.
Mhm.
Okay. So
We
we,
should never need lawyers. That's a better thing.
I agree.
True.
Or doctors. Well,
Yeah,
doctors
right.
for well checkups. Well checkups.
Exactly. That's what they say.
Yeah. Okay.
okay, we are on
Okay.
Melachim Beis, Perek Vav, Pasuk Chav Dalet.
Mhm.
We, Elisha has completed the various nisim, and when he provided food for the soldiers of Aram, which, including story that we have this week, was a big Kiddush Hashem, and it led to peace for a period of time between Aram and Israel. However, that didn't last long. Chav Dalet. Vayach rechein, vayikbots ben Hadad melech Aram et kol machaneu. After Rashi says, whenever it says acharei, it means a fairly long time. So after this episode, where initially the skirmishes, the guerrilla warfare had settled down, Ben Hadad decided to gather his forces, Vayal Vayatzer al Shomron, and he is now going to lay siege to the capital city of Yoram, the son of Achav, which is Shomron. Mario?
Can someone mute? Can somebody mute, please?
Mario, mute yourself.
It's
Mario.
not mine, it probably is Bernie, but.
Is it Bernie? Maybe we should ask him to mute.
No, it's you, Mario.
Oh, how do you know?
I know. Mario, mute yourself.
He is mute. I see that he is mute.
Yes, he's muted.
He's muted. Yeah.
Pasuk Chaf, and there's Bernie.
Hello.
Pasuk Chafei. Vayi Ra'av Gadol b'Shomron. Now a famine that will last for 7 years strikes Shomron. V'hinei tzarim aleha. And there is this siege. It's partly there was already a famine, and partly they can't bring food in because there's a siege. Ad heyot rosh chamor b'shmonim kesef. They had become so lack of food that they were eating treif, so that the head of the donkey was 80 kesef, which is an enormous amount of money. Verova hakav, and a quarter kav divyonim b'chamisha kosef. We'll see in a minute what divyonim means. So Hashem, the Iyei Hayam and other Meforshim say, has given now the Jewish people multiple opportunities to do tshuva from the avodah zarah that they were doing, and that everything is totally in Hashem ein od milvado, and they should stop worshiping avodah zarah, either through the nisim that they saw Elisha perform, or various sorrows that Hashem is punishing them, and they had not done tshuva. So now HaKadosh Baruch Hu is reverting to the second form of message. The first attempt was through nisim. Now it's going to come through tsaros, a very bitter famine that's going to last for 7 years. And we'll see in the next perek, from Perek Ches, that Elisha had prophesized about that. Ki karashem larav, the gambel la'aret shavashanim. That's going to come in the next perek. And besides the famine, which is just due to very poor harvests, another part of the famine is that they couldn't bring food into the city because of the siege that the Arameans were doing around the city. And the famine, as I said, got so bad that they were eating unkosher animal. Donkey is not a kosher animal. And we're going to see much worse. Now, you're allowed to eat.
Pikuach nefesh, right?
Allowed to eat because the Torah says, v'chai bahem. When it talks about the mitzvahs, it says v'chai bahem. Sanhedrin, ayin dal amid aleph, v'lo sheyamus bahem. The various mitzvahs and averis that have been given to us, it's not, we are allowed to violate them if it comes to our lives, except for the three cardinal averis of murder, gilui arayos, which is sexual immorality, and avodah zarah. Means if somebody points a gun at your head and says, bow down to this idol, you're supposed to allow yourself to be killed before you bow down to the idol. But treif and eating non-kosher animals is a lav. It's not one of the gimel averis, and therefore you can eat it. What is this divyonim? So the Meforshim say it's dung of doves, and the doves would eat like wheat kernels, and the Jewish people would pick out the wheat kernels from the dove of the bird, from the dung of the birds, in order to have some nutrition. We have a Gemara Megillah Chafei Amid Beis, Kol HaMikros Aksuvim B'Torah L'Gnai. Anytime you have like a word that's not a nice word, Korinos Olishvach, the Torah switches it to a nicer word. So when it comes to, in the Tochacha, when it says that the Jewish girls are going to be raped, the Torah writes Yishgalena, which is a very bad word, and we read it Yishkavena, which is a nicer word of saying that. And in the Tochacha, it says that they're going to be afflicted with hemorrhoids, and the word there is vapoilim. The Kri is bat choirim, which is a nicer word. Here, chara, right? Charyoinim refers to the dung. They changed it to divyoinim. Now, there have been 10 great famines in the world that Chazal recognized. It says in Breishis Rabbah,
Abraham.
by Parshas Breishis, it says, Asara Shnei Ra'avon Ba'u La'olam. There were 10 great famines. One of them was Echad B'mei Adam Arishon, Shenemar, Arura Ha'adama Bavurecha. If you remember, one of the curses given to Adam when he ate of the Eitz Hadas is the ground was cursed. And that already began during the time of Adam Arishon. He wasn't able to raise crops from the ground easily.
But was there an actual famine, Ernie?
There was well, yeah,
It was an actual famine.
Famine. That's what Breishis Rabbah says. Echad b'mei Adam Arishon, where they experienced hunger and they had to eat, other things, etc. Echad b'mei Lemech. Lemech is one of the descendants. Shenamar min ha'adama asher erira Hashem. So also there, it speaks of the land being cursed in the time of Lamech. So Chazal see that there was a famine there. Echad b'mei Avram, like Barbara said. It says, before he leaves to Mitzrayim, it says, Vayhi ra'av ba'aretz. And he has to go down to Mitzrayim. Echad b'mei Yitzchak. Because it says, Vayhi ra'av ba'aretz, milvad ha'ra'av harishon, asher haya b'mei Avraham. So that denotes the famine that occurred in the time of Yitzchak. Echad b'mei Yaakov. It says in Breishis Memei, Kizeh shnasayim hara'av b'kerev ha'aretz. Right? This is, Yosef is describing that first there's going to be good years and there's going to be famine years. And Yaakov says there's already been 2 years of famine. He sends the Shvatim down to Mitzrayim to go get food. Echad b'mei Shvot HaShoftim. In the beginning of Rus, it says, Vayhi b'mei Shvot HaShoftim. In the period of time when the judges ruled, the judge at that time was Elimelech, and Elimelech fled because Vayhi Ra'av Ba'aretz. So Elimelech took his family to Moab. And of course, by fleeing Eretz Yisrael when there was a tzara, as the Gadol Ador, he should have stayed there. He was punished. He died, his children died. Naomi became a widow. The whole story of Ruth begins there because there was a famine and they fled the famine. And then Boaz was the shofet. Echad b'mei David, shenemar v'hi ra'ah b'mei David sholosh shanim. In Shmuel Beis, we learned also of a famine during the times of David. Echad b'mei Eliyahu. At the end of Melachim Aleph, we had terrible famine that Chai Hashem Elokei Yisrael, Asher amaditi lefanav im yeh shanim ha'ele talu motor kim lefi dvari. Right? Eliyahu said, I'm going to hold back rain. And you remember him and Achav went to look for some grain for the animals. Terrible famine. The Echad b'mei Elisha, shenemar vayhi ra'av gadol b'shomron. That's the famine that we're discussing now. Says the Bereishis Rabbah, Echad la'asid lavo. Shenemar, it says in Amos, one of the Nevi'im in Treyasar, Amos Chet, Pasuk Yud Aleph. Lo ra'av la'lechem, v'lo tzama la'mayim, ki im lishmoa es divrei Hashem. There's the famous NCSY song that we all know that in those words, that in the future, there's going to be a famine, but the famine is not going to be for food, but it's going to be for divrei Torah. Okay. That's just historical context. Pasuk Chava. Vayi Melech Yisrael. So Yehoram, the son of Achav, is the king in Shomron. Over al HaChoma. And he is patrolling the walls surrounding the city. The Meforshim say he probably wasn't on top of the wall because the enemies would strike him down with bow and arrow. But they may have been in inner walls that had windows that you could look out to see what's going on. And the king is going to check on the safety of the city, what's going on with the siege around him. Are the Israeli soldiers guarding appropriately because they're weak from famine? V'ishat so'aka elav lemor, and a woman cries out to him, Hoshia Adonai HaMelech, please save us, or save me. Now, Achav thinks, well, there's a famine, she must be asking for food. Vayomer, Pasuk Chav Zayin, Al Yoshiach Hashem. So there's three ways of learning. Let's read the Pasuk. Vayomer Al Yoshiach Hashem. Hashem has to save you. Now, how am I going to save you? I'm in a guard, I'm in a yekev. Is there any grain in the silo or any grapes in the vineyard? So,
but all means is not, right? All is a negative.
Is not,
God
but he's
is
saying,
not
is not the person who is to save you God himself. Here is an ironic shift that here it appears that Yoram is recognizing that it's all up to Hashem. He's been denying the miracles and all the things, but here he basically is telling to this woman, don't come to me, go to Hashem. You got the wrong address.
By the way, Ernie, I think I have Yakev. I have the translation wine press. Karen would be vineyard, right? So it has wine press as Yakev.
Yeah, I mean places
or the same, the wine
places
related.
where they would store it. like a goren is a silo
Right,
with a
right,
store grain.
right.
Okay. Now, some say that the king answered the woman directly. That's the way the Abarbanel. However, the Kliyakar says that he said it to himself, that it's God that's not helping you. And if it's within his power, he should help you. Because I cannot help. They're all empty. The storehouses are empty. And it was sort of sarcastic. And the Kliyakar says that the king answered her in anger. What are you coming to me? Daven to Hashem that he has the ability to help. And you see, here is this ironic reality that he himself is realizing that it's got to come from Hashem.
Isn't a possible third alternative? What are you complaining to me? Complain to Elisha. He's the one who decreed that there will be a famine.
Well, he prophesized it. It's a little, remember, Eliyahu, he actually stopped the rain from falling. And he said, the rain is not going to fall until I tell it to do. Elisha, we haven't learned the pasuk yet, Bernie. It's in Perek Ches, where it's apparent that Elisha was misnabe about the famine. But it's not that he caused the famine. But we'll see soon that Yoram is going to be angry at Elisha as well for not davening to Hashem, for not davening, that he should have averted all of this through his tefillas. So he will be upset with Elisha. Vayomer la melech malach. So the king inquires of the woman, so what are you doing? So Vatomer Haisha Zod Amrailai, the woman says, I have a neighbor who's a woman who said to me, Tni et b'neich,
Oh my goodness.
give me your son, v'nochlenu ayom, and we together will eat that b'ni nochal machar, and we will eat my son tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
So this is how far the famine went. The Malbim says, obviously, a mother is not going to have those types of feelings towards her child unless they were out of their minds from famine. They were not in their proper. But this is where famine will take you. And we just sat on the floor a week ago, and we Vatochal nashim piryam olalei tipuchim. We read a whole kina, and people were asking me, did this happen? And when there's no food, so people will do even unbelievable things that it's hard for us to believe. Chavtes.
Ernie,
Yes.
I would like even stronger than that. The Tochacha that we will read soon in Kisavo has a pasuk that predicts this is going to happen. It says, "V'yachalta privit necha besar banecha v'nosecha."
Yes, we're going to come to that. It says
just to quote Yeshayahu also quotes a pasuk, "Ish besar zero yochelu." So, yes, in Yeshayahu he documents that the same thing that did happen.
Right. So that's later on by the destruction of Bais Rishon.
Right.
The same episodes occur. So the pasuk Chavtes Vanevashel es b'ni vanochlehu. We will cook my son and eat him. Va'omar eleh b'yom ha'acher, the next day Tnias b'nech v'nochlenu v'tachbias b'nanim will hide your child. The Meforshim see here that her son had died already, and it's not a matter of killing him and eating him, but they were going to just eat the dead child, because it doesn't say let's shecht him and eat him.
So why did she hide the child if he was dead?
Well, tachbi is hystera. It means she put him aside.
But tashbid is not hidden. I mean, it's
To hide or to put him aside. That's what, but now she's suggesting that we should take the dead child because this child that died already, we're going to eat him, but not kill him because he was died.
he was dead.
However,
He was already dead.
The Radak says he was alive. And that in the end, she had compassion not to kill him because maybe there would be some Hatzalah from another place. So in the destruction of Yerushalayim, in the Medrash on Eicha, it says, Bachot tivkeh balayla. We just laid it last week. A double crying. Lama shtei bechiyos. Why two cries? Bechia al harugea, those that had already been killed. Bechia af al harav shayasham. And there was crying about the terrible famine. Shayu ochlim basar banim uvanot. That they were eating their children and their sons and daughters. Like it says in Eicha, Perek Dalit, Pasuk Yud, I lamed it, Yedei Nashim Rachmaniot Bishlu Yaldehen. That the hands of normally merciful women took their children. Omer Rabbi Yochanan. Kishem shayu oichlem bnei Tzion b'sarbonim uvanos. Just like the women by the Churban ate their children. Kachayu neshei Shomron ochlos b'sarbonim uvanos. Rabbi Yochanan says that this famine in Shomron led to the same issue. And like Bernie said, like it says in Parshas Kisava D'Tochacha, Ve'achalta privitnecha, you're going to eat that which came out of your womb, Sarbanechel nosecha, the flesh of your sons and daughters. Asher nasan l'cha Hashem lokecha b'matzor uv'matzok, in a seeds asher yatzik l'cha oivecha, that your enemies will lay for you. So this shocked the king. He was already, we're going to see, wearing sackcloth, and he tore his begodim. V'hu over lachoman, he stood on the wall. Vayara am v'nei sak al psaromi bayis, and he's wearing sackcloth. Yoram HaMelech sees how far this has deteriorated. And when you hear bad news, you tear kriya. Like when you hear that someone died, you tear for bad news. Let's say people are gathered to go into the army, says the Shulchan Aruch, and word comes that the advanced brigade has been destroyed. So they tear kriya for that. It's a bad news. So he was wearing sackcloth already because he was hoping that Hashem would be merachem with tshuva and tefillah. When he saw how far this has gone, he lost his hope. And now, says the Mabim, is when he wanted to kill Elisha, who didn't daven to solve this problem. It says in the Gemara Tainus, Yudal Amid Beis, on Rabbi Lazar, and Adam Choshev Rishai Lakor Sak, Elim Kenana Kira Benachav. Not everybody's supposed to put on sackcloth. You have to be an Adam Choshev that if you're going to put it on, it's going to make a difference. Like Yoram Ben Achav. We're going to see that they were answered. Yoram was a Russia, but he fasted and he was answered, as we'll see later on tonight. And that the Rav stopped because he davened. It's an amazing thing. Even in Russia's tefillah can work. And somebody shouldn't wear sackcloth unless the rabbim know that if he davens, he's going to be answered. Yeron was a Russia. So the Meforshim say it wasn't just him davening, but the Rabbim was davening. Because there's a principle, Tfilas Rabbim lo tashuv reikam. When you daven with the public, you shouldn't be sure that the tefillas are going to not go unanswered. Yoram, they learned that Yoram's tefillah worked because he davened with the Rabbim, even though he was a Rasha. It says in Brachas, Ches Omid Aleph, Rav Nosson Omer Minayin Shein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mois B'Tfilosim Shel Rabbim. Kadosh Baruch Hu is never disgusted or turned off or turned away when the tzibur davens. That's why our Shemona Esrei is written in plural. We don't say Rifa'eni Hashem v'nei Rafeh, we say Rifa'enu. And we heard from Walter this week, and from Bernie, and from other sources, how Rav Soloveitchik explains Va'eschanan El Hashem Moshe Daven. But the problem is Va'eschanan is also singular form. It's not, and the Klal Yisrael didn't daven along with Moshe. It's mashma that if the tzibur would have davened for Moshe, Moshe would have been answered. And that's a big deal because Moshe, if he would have gone into Eretz Yisrael, history would have been different. He would have been Mashiach, and the rest of Jewish history would have without Golus and all of that. So the lack of tefillah that the Rabbim didn't do on behalf of Moshe Rabbeinu caused a lot of problems.
Ernie, I just want to add that whoever's writing the commentary here on the Me'am Loes said something like, we know the concept of Tocho Kabaro. This is the exact opposite. It says Yoram's dress reflected his personality. Outward, he was wicked. Outwardly, he was wicked, but his heart was righteous. He feared God and recognized that everything was in God's hands, but he hid it away because his righteousness in order to show strength and self-confidence. So basically his ego required him as king not to show that he was righteous in his personality. Yeah, which is an interesting.
That's pretty sad. People usually try doing it in reverse.
Yes.
That's ironic.
Yes.
Because he was wearing sackcloth under his king garment, his ruler's garments. Yeah.
Right. Shows that inside he was really a tzaddik.
Yeah.
Or at least at this time. So, Pasuk Lamed Aleph. Vayomer ko yaseh li Elohim v'chol Yosef. He takes a shvua. Im yamod rosh Elisha ben Shavat alav hayom. I'm not going to allow Elisha to keep his head on his shoulders. Today we're going to kill Elisha because he's not davening enough to stop the famine. So other Meforshim ask, it looks like we're being told that Yoram did tshuva. Now, if he really did tshuva, because of all these tzoros, he's putting on sackcloth, how is he having a thought to kill the Navi Hashem? So some again say that the serious famine caused him to lose his sanity, like the women who wanted to eat their children. And he abandoned all hope, desperation. And the Alshich says, you remember, the previous nace, Elisha was commanded to feed the brigade of the Arameans, and look how Klal Yisrael are dying of hunger. That meal could have been served to Klal Yisrael. So he took out his anger on the Navi. Pasuk Lamed Beis. The Elisha Yoshev bebeso. Elisha is in his house. Ve'hazekenim yoshvim ito. The Meforshim say that he's with the Sanhedrin at this time. So the Zakenim refer to the Talmidei Chachamim that make up the Sanhedrin. Vayishlach ish milfanav they sent one of the men that was in their group, B'terem yavo malach, Ela. Yehoram is now sending a messenger to kill an assassin to kill Elisha. So they post a lookout. And Elisha makes comments. V'hu amar elaz kenim. Yehoram says to the Chachamim, Har isem ki shalach ben amiratzecha zeh la'asir es roishi? Do you see how this son of the murderer, who is Yoram's father? Achav. Achav killed Navos. Remember? So he agreed. So he's considered a murderer. He also, his wife, he killed in the Nevi'ei Hashem. So he's the Meratzeach. You see, the son of this murderer is coming to remove my head. Re'u, kavo malach. When this assassin comes, sigru adelet, close the door. L'chatztem otam badelet, you hold strong. Halo kol raglei adonav achara. Because the Melech is coming after him, he wants to see what's going on. The Malbim learns that Elisha saw Baruch HaKodesh, that this assassin has been sent by the king.
Who ordered
He wanted only the Zakanim to be there so that the public would know about it.
But that was fraud.
What was that?
Huh?
Well, because sometimes we don't pay till later.
What was that?
Sorry.
So Odenu medaber imam, while Elisha is talking to the Zakanim to send out guards to prevent him from coming in, Binei malach yored elav, and this assassin comes. Vayomer hinei zot hara'ah meit Hashem ma'achil Hashem od. Yoram has regret. This is how Rashi and the Radak learn. That it's the Melech who said this. That all of this evil is really from Hashem. And there's no point in killing the Navi. And there's no point in davening to Hashem anymore either. They recognize that this is a tzara that came from Hashem as a punishment for all the sins. If I worsen the situation by killing the Navi, it's going to make things worse. How will I be able to daven again to Hashem? There won't be any hope. In the Tochacha, this is sort of the final knell, death knell of the Klolos, the eating the children. And this is all, so davening to Hashem is not going to have any help anymore. They were mamish, yeush, they had abandoned hope. And it was going to cause another problem. Now they're going to give up on their tshuva. And they were not going to, improve their ways. So let's go to Perek Zion. Because it's interesting. Even though we have a new Perek, this next pasuk is a response to what Yehoram said. So as we know, the chapters that have been, this was done when they first printed the King James Bible in 1500. When we have Prokim, it's not a Jewish source. Perek Hey, Perek Vav, all of this. This was done. We continue to use it because it's easy for us. Perek such and such, pasuk such and such. But we had our own openings and closings between parshios, stumos and psuchos, and how we end parshios and begin parshios. And you'll see how this next pasuk fits really with the previous pasuk. Pasuk Aleph, Vayomer Elisha, this is Perek Zion, Vayom Elisha Shimud Var Hashem. Listen to the words of God. Ko Amar Hashem. Ka'es machar sa'as solet b'shekel. That a
You want to buy?
bushel of wheat is going to be very cheap. It's one cell, 1 shekel. The sosayim sa'orim, 2 sa'as of barley b'shekel b'sharsho. So this is still above the normal price, but at least it's available. That means Elisha is informing. It's not like what you think, that ma ochil Hashem, or what's the point of davening that there's no hope? Because Hashem has the solution. He's going to send it. The Shimud Var Hashem is the introduction to the Nevuah. And don't worry that the price, there's going to be grain available. The Malbim specifically says the famine didn't end here, but it's getting better. It says in Ksubis, Samech Dalam and Beis, the price was higher than normal, but it was present. So it was good news. Up until now, there was nothing to eat. It says in Tainis, Dafei Omer Aleph, Amar Rav Nachman Rav Yitzchak, my dichsiv, it says in next perek, perek Ches, Ki karashem l'rav v'gambal aretz shavashanim, that in these 7 years there's not going to be anything to eat. And listen to what the Gemara describes the famine. Hachi am Rav Yechon, Shana Rishona, Achlu Masha bebatim. Nothing was growing in the fields. New. So the first year of the famine, they ate food that they had stored in their house. Shnia, Achlu Masha besadas. There was grain lying in the fields, not new grain, but there was grain still in the fields. They ate that the second year. Shlishish, Basar Behemoth Tahara. They had animals, kosher animals. So in the third year, they ate their kosher animals, cows, sheep, goats. Revius, Basar Behemoth Tmeya. They ate non-kosher. Many of them had donkeys as pack animals, schlepping animals. So they had to eat their donkeys or their camels, both of which are treif. Chamishis, basar shkotzim v'ramoshim. Insects, snails, frogs, creepy crawling things, squirrels. Shishis, besar b'nei uvnoseim. They turn into cannibals. Shvius, besar zeroseim. They ate their own flesh. They ate from their own arms. L'kayim hashenemar, Bernie quoted this, Yeshayahu Tes, ish b'sar zra'o yochelu. They're going to descend to such severe famine that people are going to eat their own flesh. So at those times, there was nothing to eat. So now that Elisha is informing them that there's going to be food, yes, it'll be a little pricier than normal, but there'll be food. Pasuk Beis. Vayan HaShalish. Let's remember this Shalish. This is an important officer of the king. Nishan al Yado. This officer, the king, would lean on this officer. So the Shalish answered at Ish Elohim Vayomar. This officer answered Elisha, Inei Hashem oseh rubot b'shamayim. Can Hashem make windows in the heavens? To bring food. We haven't had food. All of a sudden the food is going to appear. So he disbelieved the nevuah. So what does Elisha say? Vayomer, Hincha roeh beinecha. You will see the food, but umisham lo sochel. But you will not eat from it. He's saying in nevuah, and which we'll see, which will take place. It says in Masechta Sanhedrin, Tzadik Omer Aleph, Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani Rav Yochanan, Minayin shekol midosav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu mida keneged mida. Whenever HaKadosh Baruch Hu does something, he punishes the same attribute where the sin was done. And where do we see from this pasuk? Vayomer Elisha shimud v'Hashem shimud. Ka'et machar sa'asol b'shekel. Elisha prophesies that there will be food. Vayana shalish. Vayomer Hinei Hashem oseh arubot b'shamayim. Hayedeh davar zeh? Later on, in this parak, we will see what happens. Vayilo kain vayirmisu oso. He saw that there was food. The people came running and they trampled him to death. There was so much food to buy, he was trampled to death at the gate. So, mida keneged mida. Why does Hashem punish us mida keneged mida? The Sefer HaYikarim says it's for our benefit. When a person sees that he's punished with the same midah that he was over the Avera, he senses that. He sees the wisdom of Hashem, and he opens up his eyes and allows him to do a more perfect tshuva. He doesn't say this is just happenstance. Midah Keneged Midah shows us the Yad Hashem. Now, Parshas Mitzorah, which we learn every year, the following pasuk begins the Haftorah for Parshas Mitzorah. Pasuk Gimel. It doesn't start pasuk Aleph, it starts pasuk Gimel. And maybe the men will recognize it, maybe the women too, who are in shul at that time. There were 4 lepers at the gate of Shomron. What are we doing sitting here and waiting for death to come? Who are these people? This is Gehazi and his 3 sons, who, if you remember, was afflicted with saras by Elisha for taking money from Naaman. It's all one story here.
Did Elisha curse him? I think Elisha cursed him.
Cursed him and said that all of his children are going to have tsaras.
Mm-hmm.
So the Gehazi and his 3 sons are these Arbo Anoshim. Now, the Torah says that Badad Yeshev Michutz Lamachaneh Moshavo, that one of the punishments of the Mitzorah is he's kicked out of the Machaneh. Miriam, when she was afflicted with Saras, had to be outside of the Machaneh. And the Machaneh for the covenant of Miriam didn't move until she was healed from her Saras. So, Rabbi Kiva Eger, the great Achron, the father-in-law of Chassam Sofer, asked, how were these Mitzoyroim, on what basis were they sitting outside of the city? That the din of sending Mitzoyroim out is only with a city that had a wall around it from the time of Yoshua ben Nun. We were told previously that Shomron was built by Omri, Melech Yisrael. In Melachim Aleph, Perek Tet Zayin, it says, Vayiken et Har Shomron, Me'et shemer b'kikrayim kosev. Vayiven et ha'ar, vayikrat shem ha'ir asher banal shem shemer adoni ha'ar shomron. So Omri is way after Yoshua. So why are we seeing all of a sudden these Mitzarim sent out of the city? It didn't have a wall going all the way back to Yoshua. So the Rekiva Eger answers, he asked the question, he answers that it really had a wall from the time of Yoshua. Omri just strengthened it, and he named it Shomron. But there was really a city, Mukefes Choyma. Okay, I'm not going to binyan see and ask the Kasha on Rabbi Kiva Eger. I don't think we need to go into that. But the Tanat Ve'Eliyahu says something interesting. Why did they remember what was Yeravam ben Nevat? His whole problem, why he put up those agolim, he didn't want Klal Yisrael to go to Yerushalayim. Go to Yerushalayim. He thought that the pomp and circumstances and the pageantry would wow them, and they would stay, and they would get rid of the Malchei Yisrael. So, and then they decided to build a capital city too. So what they did is, just like Yerushalayim is the capital city of Malchei Yehuda, so too is Shomron for the Malchei Yisrael. So they yes?
He wanted his capital to have the same halachic status as Yerushalayim.
That's how they explained it. They wanted to compare Shomron to Yerushalayim. So they kicked them at Surim, just like Yerushalayim, the walls of Yerushalayim were considered Machane Yisrael. Remember, there's three machnot. There's Machane Ashchina, that's the Azora, where only Kohanim can go. Then there's the Har HaBayis, which has like the Kosel Amaravi is the retaining wall of the Har HaBayis. It's not the wall of the Beis HaMikdash itself. That's way by the Mosque of Omar, where the Azora was, and the Kodesh Kodoshim was. So Har HaBayis was Machne Levia. Then Chutz L'Choima was considered outside of the Machne. And therefore, this sending out the Mitzrayim out of Shomron was to make it like Yerushalayim. Others learn that it wasn't because of Michutz Machane Moshavo, rather it was a practical thing. A Mitzorah can be mitame other people. So this was like a quarantine. They were sent out of the city so that they wouldn't mitame other people. Then they deal with another halachic shaila. Can two Mitzrayim sit together? So we'll see. Mitzrayim can. The final psak is they can. But for example, somebody who's tamei mace, somebody who is afflicted with tumah by touching a dead body, or a zav, they don't sit. Each one of them have their own. But they learn from here with the Mitzrayim, we're sitting together, that the Mitzrayim can sit together. Because it says Badad Yeshev. They should sit alone. So maybe even the Mitzrayim should sit alone. But no, they can sit together. They might have to separate that. They shouldn't sit within Daled Amas of each other, but they could sit in a group. Some want to say that since Shomron was not technically a walled city from the time of Yoshua, that's why they could have sat together, because it didn't have the din of sending out the Mitzrayim in the normal way, because it was not a typical city with the wall going all the way back to Yoshua. Okay, now Pasuk Daled is going to begin a complicated sugya, which has a lot of practical application to medicine. Can you put yourself at risk? Can you undergo surgery? When if somebody, all of these dinim about suffake, how far should you go with treatment, etc., will be very interesting halachos, which will start with the next pasuk. So I don't want to start tonight with that. Right. Next week is a simcha, so we're gonna skip next week and meet again in 2 weeks for the Navi Shir. But we will be dark next Sunday,
Murray will put it on.
and Mario will remind everybody as well.
Thank you.
Everybody
So
should.
I-
Mazel tov to whomever.
Everybody have a good week.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ernie. Good night.
Bernie, oh.